Hey guys, welcome to a special Friday episode of Wine 30,
Welcome.
where we will be sharing an interview that I did with Keltie Knight from the Lady Gang about their new book, Act Like a Lady.
But first, we're going to talk about wine.
Wine. So we are drinking a Kim Crawford Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand. We've had this one before, and we weren't actually going to use this wine on the podcast today, but it's hot as something bad outside.
It's so hot out, so we've thought that an iced Sauvignon Blanc would be a better deal. Also, we've been watching the New Zealand Bachelorette.
Yeah, so it ties in.
So we're just like kind of vibing with the New Zealanders right now.
Yeah, we have been watching, I think we watched 4 episodes of that this week. We normally just do 2 a week, but we have 2 episodes of that this week, so we watched double. And now I'm like, I want to know who the girls end up choosing so badly. And I'm avoiding spoilers, and it's driving me crazy, and I want to just binge watch the rest of it, but Andrew will not let me.
Well, that's what she says. I won't let her, but realistically, I think she's just trying to be true to herself.
By not binging?
By not, like, going ahead and cheating. Because we're barely over the halfway point.
I know, which is crazy, because more than half the guys have gone home, and we're still 7 episodes, I think, away from hometowns. I was counting.
So it's like, we still have like 10 episodes left, so it's like, that's a lot of material that we don't want to, like, if she knows who wins, might become less interested, is all I'm saying.
I know, which is why I'm avoiding spoilers. I haven't looked up any of the guys on Instagram.
Yeah, it's like knowing what happens in Game of Thrones before it happens.
Oh, but let's chat about these tasting notes a little bit.
Yeah,
I got so caught up in the New Zealand Bachelorette. This is a very refreshing, crisp, light, easy drinking wine. We've had it several times before. Andrew's aunt's boyfriend brings this to like Thanksgiving and stuff, and I always enjoy it. And when we're at the store, we sometimes pick it up.
It does have like a few sour notes to it.
Yeah, which I like.
Yeah, like sour apple, like green apple, I would say.
I'd say like green apple and maybe like some
it's just tart.
Like Meyer lemon, key lime kind of vibes.
So you're not getting like a robust like tropical feel. It's more like
a tart citrus.
Yeah, it's like Middle Western feel. It's like true to where it came from.
To New Zealand?
Yeah. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
Yeah, he's like Midwestern.
It's true to where we are, but it's also true to New Zealand because you have to think about like a lot of pastures and like
which I
goats.
am a huge fan of New Zealand Sauv Blancs. Like, I think they make some of the best Sauv Blancs in the entire world.
They get a lot of coastal breezes, I think, too. So they get like really neat valley coastal breezes.
And that's a country I really want to go to.
I know, me too.
But, COVID, so who knows when. Actually, I heard they had, what was it, less than 30 cases total.
I'm sure.
And everyone, I think at this point, is now recovered. So they're starting to reopen all their stuff now. But they shut everything down even though they only had that few cases. And that was so smart of them.
Yeah.
Because instead of waiting for it to like get bigger, they just said, let's shut it down now.
Meanwhile, in America, we have
surpassed 100,000 deaths.
Well, that, and now there's rioting going on because of the...
Yeah, which we're not going to dwell on this episode.
But we should bring it up and, send our condolences, and hopefully they can resolve that.
And I've been, like, tweeting, like, information for people, or, like, I don't want to say information. I'm sharing resources of, like, how you can help people in a productive way versus, rioting.
Well, I mean, when you're angry,
I know.
You don't feel like your government is, like, being fair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it actually started with peaceful protests, but then the police officers came with, like, riot bullets.
They had, like, tear gas and stuff.
And they had, like, rubber bullets. They were shooting at the peaceful protesters, and then things escalated. So, because then that's kind of, like, becomes a racial issue, in my opinion. Like, okay, that's not okay, to, like, one, step on somebody until they're dead. I couldn't even finish the video. It was so heart-wrenching. So...
Yeah, I just saw the clip that they were showing on, like, Good Morning America, and I was like, that is...
Like, to me, I almost want to riot, you know? So...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hopefully they actually get tried. the police officers and they actually like have some prison time there.
Yeah, I hope so.
But we will see. But on a happier note, we had this fantastic interview for you with Keltie Knight. She's a former Rockette. She's been nominated for 5 Emmys. She's won 1 so far, and she was nominated this year, so, you know, maybe another one. And soon to be best-selling author of the book Act Like a Lady, which she wrote with Jack Vanek and Becca Tobin, also of the Lady Gang. And we will be dropping links of where you guys can pick up the book, get more information, and listen to their podcast. So enjoy. After a quick word about our sponsor. So Nom Nom was our sponsor this week on the podcast, and we are obsessed, as is Zelda.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed with
the product.
The product. I mean, it's just like real food.
For dogs.
We basically fed our dog a scrambled hash.
For breakfast.
Like,
so it's dog food with super fantastic, fresh, restaurant quality ingredients. So her one this morning had beef, it had potatoes, it had eggs, it had peas, it had fish oil, and it looked like something that we would get at a restaurant.
Yeah, well, it didn't look that good, but it looked like
if you ordered a hash at a restaurant, it looked pretty darn similar to that. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was good. I think it looks really nice. And I think it's nice to feed your dog something that's going to help them live a little longer and have a more fulfilling life.
Yeah, so we just wanted to give them an extra little shout out this week and let you know that you can go to trynom.com/wine30 for 50% off a 2-week trial.
Yeah.
Well, we're so excited about the book, especially now because everyone's lives are in turmoil. And so it's like wrapping your best friends around you in a hug in the bathtub when you're crying, having some wine at night. Basically, when we thought about putting together a book, we wanted it to be different than the podcast. So it has all the things that you love about the podcast, but it also has a lot of these really sort of heartfelt, reflective, personal essays. And the book that I sort of loved was the Chelsea Handler. Her first book ever was this book called My Horizontal Life. And I remember reading it, and she had all these essays about her sexual escapades. And I remember reading it and thinking, like, wow, this woman is writing things that I would be embarrassed to tell my best friend. And now I think the book's 15 years old. Now, all these years later, we have Lady Gang, which is essentially, we do exactly that on the podcast every week. So in the essays, we wanted to there's hilarious dating stories and crazy stories, but then there's also some real heartfelt stuff. And it's just a really easy, great summer reading book that you can, when you're depressed right now and life is weird, you can just stare at a wall and then read a little and then go back to staring at the wall.
Yeah. So what essays would you say you're like most excited about in the book for people to read?
There's a bunch. So the essay there's a couple essays that I'm the most proud of. One of them is I wrote about my first marriage. So when I was 21 or 20, I can't even remember at this point. I think I was 20. I was married for 11 months to this New York guy. And I've never talked about it. I mean, people knew that I had a first marriage, but I really have never opened up about who he was, how we met, how we fell in love, like how I got married, like a baby bride in a teacup dress, how we got divorced, like all of that. So I think it's a really cool look into being a people pleaser, because that's essentially what I was. And then there's like these really, I think one of the funniest essays is one of the last essays in the book, is called Sloppy Seconds that Jack wrote. And then I wrote an essay after called Sloppier Seconds. And it's about, we have a mutual ex-boyfriend, and she wrote about her story sort of with him, and then knowing about me because I dated him after, and like what she thought of me and how we were pitted together on the internet. And then I wrote about knowing about her and how, I mean, how rare is it? 2 girls dated the same guy, they get together and write about it in a book. Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. I know the only section I think I've actually gotten to read so far is part of Becca's talking about her nude photo scandal.
Yep.
Which I was like, oh my gosh, it was so heartbreaking, just like the part of it I read. Like that feeling of like your personal moments are like everywhere.
Yeah. It's an amazing essay, and how she handles it. Like, the nude photos leak, and then she's in Atlanta. She has to go to her dad and be like, yo, dad, don't look at the internet. I mean, and she writes it. It's so heartbreaking and crushing, but at the same time, she's like talking about how Jennifer Lawrence's nudes leaked at the same time, and like, why are they not best friends now? Why haven't they bonded over this? Like, where the fuck is J-Law? Like, it's amazing.
Yeah. So how did you go about like pitching the book? Because I know you guys have been talking about doing a book for the past like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, it was one of those things. So this never happens to me or us in general. Like everything that I have in my life, from this like gray hair to this teacup, I have like crawled tooth and nail and been like, pick me, pick me. Here's my bio. Here's my press kit. Here's a bottle of champagne. Like I have weaseled everyone into this like level of career. And the book is the complete opposite. We've always joked about doing a book. We have like the Lady Gang dictionary and all these funny words that we collect, and like, oh, put it in the book. We'll put in the book. We never were trying to do a book. We literally got a call out of the blue one day from this amazing agent who does crazy, like famous people's books, Andy McNichol at William Morris, which he's since left. But I was represented as a TV host at William Morris, and like I got this call from my agent, and she was like, hey, like this book lady at William Morris is kind of interested in Lady Gang. She thinks there's a book there. And I was like, huh, what? Someone's offering us like anything? Well, we met with Andy. She's like this super rad, like girl's girl. And she convinced us to do a book. Like we were not even going to do it. Becca still does not want to do it. And it's like literally coming out now. And she was like, hey, there's a book here. Like it'll be so cute. What could it be? And we kind of like discussed around what it could be. And then she was like, all right, I'll set up meetings. We flew to New York. We took 3 meetings with 3 different publishers. The minute we met with the team that we ended up with, we walked out of the meeting and we're like, yes. And it was like a sign from God, because it was at Penguin Random House, and their office is like exactly what you would think a publishing office in New York City in like a movie looks like. Mm-hmm. Like most offices, you like go and you're like, this is the office. This is the office. Like, oh, okay. This office, like the walls are lined in books. You're like, there's Michelle Obama, there's Taylor Jenkins Reid, like there's, it's like every book you've ever loved is just sitting on the shelf, and you're like, huh? So we took this meeting, and they were like, let's do the book. And then they were like, can you write it in 3 months? And we're like, yes. We can also make a podcast, work our full-time jobs, make a TV show, and write a book. It's not a big deal. We got this. So that's how it came to be.
Awesome. So like, speaking of the TV show, how much creative control did they actually give you over the show?
The show was an interesting thing. I believe that everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. And I think, I was just saying this the other day, I don't think our book would be as good as it is. Like, I really believe in this book. I know it's great, and I hate everything I do ever. I know the book is great, and I think it's because the TV show was so hard on us. Because we got the TV show, and you're so excited, right? You're like, this is all we wanted. I remember sitting at the 101 Cafe with Becca thinking about doing a podcast, and we're like, we should have a talk show where we're just like talking about farting. And then we're like, well, no one's going to give us a talk show. Let's start it as a podcast, and we'll use that as our proof of concept. Like the whole goal from the beginning was like, get this TV show. Mm-hmm. So we got the TV show, and we're so excited. And then it was the first time that we have ever had to bring anyone else into our creative process. So like from the beginning, everyone thinks like, oh, you have all these people working for you, and like, tell your person the sound was bad. I'm like, the sound person's me. It was the first time we ever had to like have someone else do the graphics, and we didn't know how much we could push the envelope. So for instance, like, we never liked the logo of the show. Mm-hmm. Or the graphics around the show. We're like, they're so childish. Like, this is not us. We wanted something so chic and fresh, like the book looks, And Jack's like a graphic designer. That's what she went to school for. Like, she graduated from UCLA with that like background. And we didn't have the confidence in ourselves to be like, can Jack just do it? Like, let's not spend the money on some other person who doesn't know us. Like, we know our Lady Gang colors. We know the fonts we like. Like, can we just do it? But we were trying to be like nice girls. We're trying to be agreeable and like, oh, you guys are the experts. You've done this a million times. Okay, we'll do whatever. So, there were things that we were really passionate about. Like, I was so passionate about getting AJ from the Backstreet Boys on the Lady Gang TV show. I was like, I will die for this. Like, I will fight for this. And they're like, I don't know, like, maybe we could try to get Nick Hart. I'm like, no, AJ is the one. He's the crazy one. He's going to make good TV. It was our highest rated episode, of course. because I'm always right. And then there were things that you just had to like roll over and like hurt your gut. And you're like, this is not what I thought the show was going to be. I'm proud of the show. I think it's a real romp and it was a blast to do. It was the craziest time in my life. I think it's a real crazy show. I wish there was more heart. And I think it is just that the problem with making a podcast into TV show is that it's so short, right? You go from like having an hour 2 times a week to having 20 minutes. And TV is so loud, right? We have the Housewives, we have the Bachelor, we have like Tiger King, like everything is like screaming in your face, this loudness and this brassness. And so for us to take 5 minutes of our 20 minutes and show real heart and it to be slower and less loud, it's such a risk to networks because they feel like, oh my God, the minute you start to cry or show a vulnerable side of you, like people are going to change the channel. Like they just want loud and like a Housewives reunion on crack, right? Mm-hmm. And so that was my regret. I wish we had shown a little bit more because I think we came across like very like one-sided. And if anyone listens to the podcast, they know that we feel it all, and every woman feels it all. Every person on this planet feels their loud brass, I got this, fuck you, like I got this shit, and then in the next instant, like I don't know what I'm doing, I'm so confused, I want to cry. Like we are all that, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like you guys know your community so well. Like your listeners, you're in the Facebook groups, you're seeing what people are posting, what they're talking about, like what interests them.
Yeah.
What they really attach themselves to on the podcast. And I feel like with the show, it was like everything that people gravitated to, they kind of like tried to skip over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was kind of weird because I was like, this is the part I love. And they keep just hacking it up and then going back to like something that I felt wasn't necessarily drawing in your audience.
Yeah. It wasn't, and that's what's interesting about this new world that we live in, right? Like when you start in entertainment, you're like, or in anything, right? You're like, I want to be the Beyonce. Like, I want to be the biggest and the best, and I can crush anything, and everyone knows me, and I have worldwide success. But then you realize that the real power is, and I hate to be like the influencers out and the micro influencer community is in, but I really believe that. I think that Lady Gang is so special. And of course, I want it to grow and I want it to be the biggest thing in the world. But at the same time, we're all okay with if it just stayed the same because I think we have such a great community and it is really powerful. And we've proven that in, you know, supporting each other, the philanthropic like work that we've done, the ability to raise money for these things and also have a laugh. Like maybe you don't need to have 1 million members.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just special to stay the way it is because it kind of gets blurred when you try to mass market it. And I think that's what people are now realizing, especially with COVID. It's like you can really be entertained by anyone you want at this time. And it doesn't actually matter you're the biggest or the best or whatever. It's like everyone's finding their little niche.
It's interesting to me that so many people base like podcasts off of like the charts where they're like, oh, well, they're not in the top 10. And it's like, well, the top 10 is like NPR. Right. Or Joe Rogan. And it's like, and those are people that I'm not going to go to for advice on like anything they advertise, I'm not going to go and look up later. Whereas like the Lady Gang or the Morning Toast or something like that, if someone is telling me about a product, I'm more likely to actually go and check it out.
I mean, I will be clipping this and putting it on our sales kit. So thank you for that. You know, and end quote. No, and I think that's the thing is that it doesn't actually matter. The charts don't matter to me anymore because I know that there's like an algorithm like Facebook, how it works, right? And so the way that charts work is it's sort of based on new listeners. So, you know, when you're in the top 10 or whatever, it's because so many new people are coming that maybe haven't listened in 6 months all the time. And when you're a big podcast like that, you're getting, you know, it's like you watch a show on Netflix and then you go to Hulu for 6 months and you come back to Netflix. Like, but for us, we can see in our analytics, like we have the same people, hundreds of thousands of them that listen every week from the same cities. Like it is the same, it's our group. And I'm okay with that. You know, I don't really need, because even though you can't flex in those ways that, I mean, I'm a Keltie, so I'm like, I want everything to be a flex. I want to be at the top of every chart and win every award. You know, even though when you have this like community, you can't always flex in that way that everyone sees it. I know that when, you know, a brand or a guest comes on and they're like, hey, I've got this new record, and I'm, we had Julia Michaels on, who I love so much, and like, or Joey King we had on a few years ago, and like, she's known, but she's not like Beyonce, right? And so like, she came on and she was so amazing. It was the best thing. Well, she's like the fourth most viewed episode we've ever had on Lady Gang. And it's like, it's not the biggest stars that are doing that. It's the people with communities. So it's kind of a powerful thing if you think about it. And it makes me feel okay about being a loser.
Which you guys just had Lucy Hale on, which is like
so
a
major
big win in podcasting. Like, I've not heard her on any podcast prior.
Yeah, and we asked her for, I'm not joking, like I think she was like kind of embarrassed because I started the podcast and I was like, we've waited 4.5 years, we've been asking for you, and she's like, I'm sorry, whatever, and her rep is like, oh god. We really have, like, I think she was one of the first 10 people we asked to be on the podcast, and Jack had known her through like the Warp Tour, and she had dated a guy in this band, The Cab, that I like, and anyway, so we DM'd with her for like ever, and it just never got set. And I think maybe her people were scared. She was really, really busy. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and people were available, honey. And we were like, Lucy Hale. And she was so cute. Like, I could have done 3 hours with her. She was so cool.
It's so funny. Like, since the pandemic hit, like every single person I reach out to, they like get back to me and then they're like, oh, and here's some other people we represent. And they're all bored at home. So please.
Everyone's just at home. They're like, can you Zoom? I'm like, okay. And I guess it makes it easier because honestly, like if I had to drive to things, I wouldn't want to go either. So especially in LA, I'm like, okay, Zoom is good. All right, let's do it.
And then it's like, that's something I think is going to continue post quarantine as well, because it's so easy to be like, oh, you don't have whatever 2-3 hours to set aside, especially in LA. It takes you at least an hour to drive anywhere.
Right.
So it's like, even if you don't have that time, it's like, if you have 45 minutes an hour, you're just set.
Yep. It's amazing. And it really hasn't changed. I thought, oh my gosh, it'll change the whole vibe of it. But with these video conferences, you can see everyone. Like, I mean, it's a little different, but I think we're handling it. We're doing our best we can.
Yeah, I actually don't mind it, which I thought at the beginning, like the very first Zoom call we did, I was like, this is going to be so bad, because I had done like phone interviews in the past, and phone interviews are just not
never
the same. So
I'll never forget one of my first assignments when I was starting being a reporter was to do a phoner with Nick Jonas. And like, I didn't even know what a phoner was. I'm not going to lie. Like, I was like, what? I make YouTube videos. Like, huh? And they were like, okay. And then they called my number. They're like, all right, we're on with Nick. And I was like, oh, I'm not ready. Cause I didn't even have the time. Like, it was such a disaster. I had no idea what we're talking about. It was the worst interview of my life. And I think about that all the time, how I was like such a loser. And they're probably like, who is this girl?
Who have you interviewed? Because you've been to like the royal wedding, you do the Oscars, you do the Grammys, like everything. Who's been like one person that you've been really surprised by in a positive way?
Oh, God, there's so many. There's actually way more nicer people than jerks, but the jerks just like scream the loudest. Okay, let me think of who is great. There's so many people. I guess, to be honest, I think Jennifer Lopez, and because she is such a diva, you know what I mean? Like, God, she's so freaking good and sexy and everything. And it's really cute because when you interview her, she really is just a hard worker. And I'm always really surprised by her humility. Like, if I was Jennifer Lopez, I'd be like, you see how fucking hot I am? You see me at the Super Bowl? You see me at the Golden Globes? Like, you see me in the Gucci dress? Like, I would just not have the time of day to be humble at all. And she's pretty cool. She's like, you like it? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Has there been anyone that you've been like disappointed by? I know like sometimes in the past, like as I've met people or interviewed people, they come off like really cold, even though I thought they were going to be like these really like fun, happy people.
Yeah. I mean, there's always going to be like, I think people are talking about a lot in the press, like the Ellen, like Ellen DeGeneres. And it's like, I mean, she seems so warm and bubbly, like that kind of person that when you meet them in real life, you would be like, you're expecting to get that, and maybe you don't. And so there's definitely people like that. I can't think of like one at this moment. And I also want to keep my job, so I probably wouldn't tell you anyway. But they definitely are people where you're like, you should be like so rad and friendly, and they're just not.
But then I think a lot of people also have to like are very introverted and turn it on for the cameras when you see them most of the time on TV. So then
Yeah.
there's times where if you bump into them somewhere else, they may not be like on.
Yeah. I mean, I know this is like a decades old thing, but I will say that Angelina Jolie and Jennifer Aniston are like exactly who you would think they would be.
Yeah.
Like Angelina is very like proper and prim and answers and moves on. And Jennifer, like when you talk to her on a red carpet, it's like she's had 7 margaritas. Like she just seems so fun. Like I want to go to your house and like hang out in the pool and talk shit, you know?
Yeah. So you are like the queen of like manifesting your goals, like writing your goals list and making things happen. Like, are there any new goals that you've like written out since quarantine started? Because I know like everything started right after the new year, so everybody's having to like re-evaluate.
Yes. Well, in the book, Out Like a Lady, Act Like a Lady, I said Out Like a Lady, June 2nd, there is an entire chapter about an essay about how this manifestation has come in my life, like where it came from 11, 12 years ago, my process of how I put together the lists. And one of the things you will learn is that you are not allowed to make new goals throughout the year. The manifest goals that you make on December 31st, 2019 are what you have to stick to and look to and accomplish for 2020. You can't change course because it takes a whole year for the things to come through. So I mean, right now in quarantine, I'm trying not to eat a donut every day. And like, that's like a mini goal, but that's not on the manifest list. The manifest list is very clear. I'm going to save some money. I'm going to become a New York Times bestselling author. I'm going to have 5 date nights with my husband. Check, 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 check. We've had 3 months. I'm going to have my niece and nephew over to my house more. I'm going to be impeccable with my word. You know, these things that are on my list this year. Like, I am still looking at the same list.
Which you've been keeping track of how close you are to like the bestsellers list.
Yes.
So like when it comes out, how close are you at this point? Like what level are you at?
I think we are just below Keltie's head is going, or are we just below what the fuck? Let me look. Hold on. I have a recent picture of it. Let me just check it out here. Yeah, I mean, the girls are so embarrassed of this chart that I have. Let me look at it. Okay. Oh, we are slightly above Keltie's head is growing and slightly below what the fuck. And so we still need to get to we're gonna pass out and then bestsellers. So we have some work to do, but I feel like because it's just, you know, a week or so before the book comes out, now people will order it. You know, getting someone to pre-order a book 3 months ago, like pay for it now, but like we won't deliver it to you for 3 months. Like that's like a hard thing. So I feel like as we get closer, people are really going to do it. And I love what this stands for. Like we are nobodies. Like if we can get on the bestseller list next to Michelle Obama and Oprah, like forget about it. Like anyone can make anything happen.
Yeah, it's like I pre-ordered the book back in like February.
Thank you.
First, like went on pre-order, and then this past week I was like, oh, I should order another one from like a local bookstore so more. Yeah. And then I was like, because I feel like it's such a good gift to give to people right now.
It's going to be a great gift, and I wish I had a copy here. I could show you. It's like, in addition to it being a great read, it's so beautiful. Like Jack designed it.
At, like your Instagram stories with oil on the front. So good.
And like it's so regal. Like I just want it on my shelf. I want it with a candle and an incense. Like, ooh, I'm so excited. Actually, that's one of the things I'm the most excited is for everyone to start getting the books and then like see the photo shoots they do with them. So I think it's gonna be really cool. So I believe we will make the bestsellers list. The thing that's so hard about any bestsellers list is that it's kind of known. It's not really solely just based on numbers. It's like the amount you sell plus like what press picks it up plus what the reviews on Amazon are like plus, you know, did indies sell it? Did it kind of sell in every market in the country? Like there's like this wild equation so that's been really hard for me because I'm like, all right, if we hit this number, we'll make the list. And they're like, no, like you could hit this number and still not make it. So I'm like, okay. Ugh.
What would also be interesting is to like look at libraries and see what the hold list is like for it already, because normally they have a hold list for things even before it comes out.
Oh my god!
So you could look at like the LA Public Library and then
I miss the library so much.
I know. It's like I worked at a library for like 6 or 7 years right out of high school. So now every time people are talking about books, I'm like, oh, I should check. Like, I always like to check the hold list because it's just so interesting to me what like people just go crazy for.
Oh my god. Okay, now I have another thing to do today.
I know.
And then I'm not going to do.
Sometimes people don't buy the book and they get it from the library, but then they tell a friend who then buys the book. So
yeah. Now, I love the library. I'm a big fan. I have a library in Studio City that I frequent when COVID is not on. Because once you start buying things on your Kindle or like even on Barnes and Noble or the bookstores or whatever, it keeps like suggesting more books the same. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's good to go into a library because you're just like, wait, I didn't know this existed. It's hard to find out about new books, which is why we're like doing a lot of podcasts.
Which have you guys tell the people going to BEA in New York prior to everything shutting down? Because I know that normally they give out like all of the advanced reader copies to like the librarians, the book bloggers, like everybody. And I was like, oh, they'll probably like have their book there, like promoting it, and then they canceled it. And
yeah, it's been like a dumpster fire. Everything that was supposed to be amazing about releasing a book has gone down the drain. But the thing is that it's like it's a global pandemic, so let's not feel too sorry for ourselves. But I have cried. I've had many sadnesses about it that I'm not really allowed to talk about with Becca and Jack around because they just are like, really, you're going to whine about a book when like people are dying? And I'm like, I get it. But it was hard. Yeah. All of those things, like the in-store signings, the seeing your book on a table at a bookstore, the book conventions, like the ability to go around and do like author roundtables and, you know, like go to Good Morning America, like in New York, and go to the studio and be in, you know, all of that stuff is now tabled. So the only thing I have is the bestseller list. So if everyone could just get online right now and order a copy of Act Like a Lady, please, it's all I have. It's my last hope.
Yes. So my last question for you was going to be, where can people buy the book? Pretty much everywhere. But then also where they can follow you and the rest of the Lady Gang.
Yeah, so Lady Gang, new episodes come out every Tuesday and Thursday, wherever you get podcasts. And then at the Lady Gang is our Instagram, and we're going to be doing like a ton of giveaways next week. So even if you just like free stuff, get on it. I'm at Keltie, and then the book is available anywhere, but if you go to theladygang.com/book, so easy to remember, it like pops up all the different sites you can go to. So if you have a Barnes & Noble gift card, you can go there. If you just want to Amazon it, there's this great thing called Bookshop, which will connect you. You can order. It's like as fast as Amazon. And it will like ship to you, but the profits go to independent booksellers, which is really cool. We need to help them right now because like no one's in their stores and it's bad. So yeah, that's where you can get it.
And I do know that you posted on Instagram stories, like you guys posted where in each state you can buy the book.
Well, that's not even only where you can buy the book.
The only places that order from the independent bookstores, that helps them out as well.
Yeah. So what we did is we actually went in the Facebook group and we asked girls like, where do you live and like, what's your bookstore? Like, we want to support some indie bookstores. And so everyone wrote their bookstore if they went to one. And so we thought this is a great idea to just shout out these indies, and like maybe you'd head on over if you're in Nebraska to like this certain bookseller just to help them. And they were already bookstores that our girls loved. I think you can get the book at any bookstore. I mean, I'm sure anyone would be happy for a sale right now, but I thought that was really cool. And there's all these rules about like to promote the book. You can't say like one bookstore over the other. Like they get really mad about that. So we're just trying to spread the love. But I also like, there's nothing better than when you're on a road trip and you get to a small town and you go find the coffee shop, and then next door on their little like cute shopping street, there's like a little boutique, and then like whatever their little bookshop is. Like, it's always so special. And I want those places to stay alive, you know?
Yes. And Barnes & Noble is doing signed copies, correct?
Oh, Barnes & Noble has signed copies. We have something launching tomorrow where you will be able to get a personalized copy. So, well, actually, this will be out tomorrow? No, next day? Next week. Next Friday. Okay. It's already launched, but, it's going to be available. So you can like enter this thing and get a personalized copy where I can break up with your boyfriend for you in the book. Like, I'll write in the pages, like, Steve, it's over. Love, Laura. And we'll send it to him. So it's going to be great.
Which is actually really funny.
Yeah. Or like someone's getting married, or your best friend is like in a different country, or you want us to sign something to you that's like, you know, Sicily, you got this, bitch. Love Keltie. You know, like it's gonna be so fun. So yeah, Barnes and Noble has signed copies, and then they have like a special edition with our lady secrets that girls put in. One of my favorite things. So we had all the girls, whoever wanted to submit these anonymous secrets. We have no idea who wrote them. Mm-hmm. They're so crazy. They're so insane. I was like, I can't believe someone wrote this. One of the secrets, I think it got published in the book, is like, I can't have an orgasm unless I'm thinking about Danny DeVito.
That is so weird, but also like really exciting in a book.
Yeah, I'm like, no, the secrets are so weird. I'm like, I love girls. Like, we're so, us as creatures, we are so bizarre, and I love it.
It's amazing. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat today.
Oh my God, girl, thanks for supporting